Back with another video. Royce claims she's seen Dwight Howard in the bed with other men. Let's get into it. Before we get into it, like the video, subscribe to the channel, and hit the notification bell so you'll be notified of my videos, and go ahead and share it if you like. Make sure you comment down below for the algorithm. Now, y'all, I had stopped putting up some of this stuff because I guess some people's getting tired of it because she had a lot going on. But anyway, she was claiming that she's seen him in the bed with other men and stuff like that. A lot of people been saying this stuff about him for a while. Even before I even heard her say it, I heard it years back and all kinds of stuff. I even posted on the situation. I'm like, if this is what this man liked, this is what he liked, this is his business or whatever. But, you know, I posted it. But her thing was, she kept saying that he was saying he wasn't like that. And she was just trying to prove a point. And she was like, yeah, they used to do this and do that and do this. And I used to see it and this and the other. And they was like, why you bringing it up now? She's bringing it up now because people are asking her that question. Y'all kills me with that. People are in interviews. People answer questions based on the interview. Why are they asking her this question right now? That should be the question, not why is she bringing this up now, because she's not bringing it up now. They're asking her these questions. She's answering the questions. So that's what an interview is. Sometimes they bring up old stuff. Maybe they never got the answer to that question, so now they're bringing it up. So I get why they bring it up too. Nobody ever knows. But anyway, we're going to go ahead and watch that, and then we're going to watch some of the other stuff where she's talking about different stuff that happened to let y'all get a gist, because some people were still asking what was the other video because I didn't post it because a lot of people weren't watching it. But anyway, I'm going to add it on to the end of this. But let's go and get into that.
Back on track. The parties.
Yeah.
All right. Have you ever witnessed him being with another man in the bedroom?
Yeah. All the time. They took mushrooms together. And then they were like in the bed moaning and like touching themselves. Yeah, but they said that's an effect of taking mushrooms. I didn't take them. I pretended to, but I didn't take them. I spit it right out. Go back through 2009 a little bit more in depth because that's where a lot of your questions are. So the first part of 2009, I'll say the first quarter, I am confiding in Shawnee. I'm talking to her about pretty much everything I'm going through. She was one of the first people I told that I was pregnant, so I really thought I had a friend. When it came down to me telling her that Superman had reached out about trying to work things out, it was do what you feel is best for you and your son, follow your heart, don't listen to what people have to say, nothing biased. So I decide to work things out. As we're working things out, there are also conversations about a reality show. When I discussed it with him, he was all for it. He wanted to do it. He was excited about it. I told Shawnee, and easy sell. So during this time, we are working on our relationship. We are out in public. I mean, I'm going to the games. Our son is wearing his jersey. We had a Magic Dancer reunion. It was just a lot going on. I am buying a house. I am shooting a sizzle reel in Miami for the show. And that's when the verbal assault started. But I took my ass to LA and I went and I pitched that show to all those different networks. And I talked about how great of a relationship I was in. And I just knew I got it sold. I get back home and I find out that I have been cheated on with several women. All that I kept thinking in my head was, this man does not like to use condoms. I went off. I went to the clinic, I got tested, and I went off on Twitter. I mean, woo! I was letting his ass have it, y'all. Of course, he got pissed off, and we, broke up. And then a couple days later is when he comes by the house and he's supposed to be picking up our son. He's mad because I would usually have a backpack and some of his favorite snacks at my house, but we're not together, so why the fuck would I have that? But anyway, obviously he's in a bad mood, so I'm just trying to ignore his attitude. He's yelling in the house like, oh, I'm ready to go, and where's his bag? And I'm like, it's in the closet. He goes to the closet, and I'm asking him, like, yo, you good? Like, you okay? Because you acting real strange. He turns around and proceeds to tell me how stupid and useless I am, how I'm worth nothing, how nobody will ever want me, no man is ever going to want to be with me, how I'm the best that he could ever get, I'll be back, all these things. That's when I go into the family room and I tell his friend, like, yo, get your friend, he acting crazy, like, what's wrong with him? And he comes out. That's when he grabs my hair, flings me into the entertainment center. Same thing with our son. I told this story in part 3. I don't really want to have to rehash it. But before they left, obviously his friend is saying, hey, man, stop. That's a female. But he's still screaming and calling me every name besides the one I was given. They then pick up our son and they leave. I'm now left to have this conversation about what just happened with my goddaughter. After that, I then had to pick up our son from his house. And I'm sorry, y'all. I do not know why I laugh or smile when I'm telling my trauma. I don't know. I'm so sorry. I know it looks weird. I know it looks crazy. I don't know if it's a coping mechanism. I don't know. I'm sorry. I'm trying. I don't know why I do that. But they leave with our son, and like I said, I have to now go and pick him up from his house after this visitation, and I'm in his room, and that's when the knife situation happened. It should also be noted that prior to me going to pick up our son, we had had a few conversations, and I forgave him again. So I get to the house, and he asked me to come into his room. I go, he closes the door, and he pulls a knife out on me. He says, I could really kill you right now and claim self-defense, and they would believe me because everyone loves me here and they hate you. To attempt to rewrite history is crazy because those of you who were at the house that day know exactly what happened. But maybe that hypnotism did work. So he comes over to the house about a week or so later, and we're hanging out with our son, watching a movie in the family room. Remember, we're trying to work things out. And I go to the bathroom. When I come out the bathroom, he's in the bedroom. He wants to have sex. I say, no, my cycle is on. He says he wants head. And I say, no, our son is right there in the other room. He proceeds to get up. He shuts the door. He comes over to me and he pushes me down to the floor like he did before. And he proceeds to ram his waist into my face. If you can imagine what that feels like, think about someone punching you in your nose at 6'11", 200 pounds, and their pants are still on. Think about that happening over and over and over again to you. You're now in tears. Your son is in the next room. You've already basically been told that you're hated by your hometown, so call the police on Superman? Clark Kent? Baby Jesus of Orlando? No, you can't do that. Okay, so that situation happened, and that is what ultimately led me to leave the relationship. Not soon after that, the show got picked up. And that's when contracts started going around and our attorneys started speaking with each other. And because I was still signed on to do the show and he was not, they were concerned about what I was going to say on the show. So they were like, well, we just want to make sure that she doesn't say anything bad about him because of his career. And we don't want any type of, defamation. And of course, I'm like, well, is it defamation if it's true? But okay. And then it was also me saying, well, I don't plan on that being my storyline. I don't have to talk bad about him. I don't really have to talk about him at all. The next day, my attorney calls me to his office and he's like, hey, you need to get here as soon as possible. I need you to sign this agreement. And I was like, what agreement? He said, the agreement about what we talked about yesterday with you and Superman. And I was like, oh, okay, cool. I get in my car, and I think I was even at the park because I was close. But I get to his office, and it's not even 4:50 yet. It's like 4:40 something. And he's like, sign this agreement. So I'm looking at it first. I'm trying to at least skim it. And he goes, what are you doing? I'm like, I'm just checking I'm supposed to read everything. So he says it's basically the conversation that we had, a couple days prior, just in writing. I said, okay. I signed the paper. I trusted him to my detriment. He then goes, hurry up, we gotta go. I'm like, okay. So we're rushing out the office. I'm right behind this man, and we go to get in the car. He's like, what you doing? I was like, you said we gotta go. And he was like, well, not you. I was like, what do you mean, not me? He was like, you're not dressed appropriately. I had on an orange tank top and jeans and sneakers. This man went to court, and rather than me not be there for the judge to ask me if I knew what I was signing, for the judge to go through the different provisions of what that agreement said, and me have to agree to it, my attorney did that. You want to know what that agreement said? That I could not say his name, any type of insinuation, his middle name, nobody in his family's name, his friend's name. I couldn't even say my son's name, y'all. And if anybody in the room was even talking about him, I would have to leave. And it said not till death, but till death and the end of time. That attorney later withdrew as my attorney. But there's a new agreement in place, which trumps the old one. So as much as I wanted to fight it and argue it down because it was on some bullshit, my attorney had to remind me, it's not about the little battles. It's about the war. Hey y'all, it's Royce, and I'm here to tell you a story about how my life changed beginning July 31st, 2004 to even now, all because I had a baby by Superman, part 5. I think it's also important to note when people ask, well, why couldn't you all try and work this out? Y'all needed therapy. We were actually given a parenting coordinator, and I went to all the appointments. He went to one. He stopped showing up. So she ended up writing a letter stating that she could not do her job because of his failure to participate. So we are now at the end of 2009, and unbeknownst to me, this agreement I've signed has just basically destroyed my life. Well, not only am I fighting him in civil court, but I'm also fighting him in family court. They are filing all these motions claiming that I am denying visitation when half the time they asked for it, he wasn't even in town. But what does that mean? More attorney fees, more court costs. Because every time a motion was filed, we had to answer. During this time, I am also dealing with one of his minions that is going on the internet and threatening to fight me at my son's birthday party. She was saying that someone was going to end up at the 33rd Street jail, that they needed to have her bail money because there was going to be trouble. I am expressing my concern regarding this person, and finally it was agreed that she would not come. So now here we are in the first quarter of 2010, and I'm filming the show. I am living my best life. I am outside. I am dancing at pool parties. And here comes another lawsuit. What does that mean? Another set of retainer fees. There goes my first check. So the second quarter of 2010, I am getting drained with attorney fees. I'm fighting him in family court as well as civil court. And I'm also doing promo for the show. I am now asked to go on the Wendy Williams show. Not as a guest, but as a how you doing girl. She asked me if my son's father was Superman. I said yes. I'm now sued. I am sued for $500 million. As I'm dealing with this latest lawsuit and people are laughing at me all over the internet and wishing hell on me, hoping that I go to jail, calling me every name in the book, I am also getting harassed by the same person who threatened to fight me at my son's birthday party. She is sending me messages about, how does it feel to not be number one anymore? How does it feel to know you're not the only one? Don't you feel stupid? And what was she talking about? We have welcomed baby number 2, a little girl born in June of 2010. In September of 2010, there was another lawsuit. What does that mean? More money, in which at this point I did not have. He won. There was a writ of garnishment that was made out for November of 2010. And they went and looked for every single account that I had. And they took everything from me. Not only did they do that, they found the account that I had with my mother since I was a little girl. The very first account I ever had, and she was attached to it. It wasn't even an account that I used anymore. But because they didn't get anything out of that account from me, they took everything from her. They took my mom's entire savings. In the early part of 2011, I released my book, College Girls. I was hosting parties. I had a boyfriend, the one that bought me the dog. I was doing the weekly blog for the show. I was in Detroit doing the play Cheaters. I was hustling, y'all. Come June of 2011, wouldn't you know, by the grace of God, out pops Superman and Sister C. This one is a Christian. She is modest. She is a beautiful girl, all natural. And I mean, very Little House on the Prairie. Perfect for his image. He is getting baptized. He is giving himself to God. He is in love. Visitations seem as if they are becoming more consistent, so I'm grateful. August comes, and because visitation has become a little bit more consistent, my son is now waiting for him on the curb. Yes, just like the little picture of the kid sitting on the curb with a lunchbox waiting for their parent that never comes. That was my child, the one and only time I allowed him to do that. But nobody called to say that they weren't coming. And because I turned into the FBI, I find bitches instantly. I went on Twitter because I wanted to know where he was. And this was around the time where people were putting all their business out there. So I saw a picture, and he was in New Jersey. He was on a basketball court with his and Pastor Zachary Timms. Oh, I had to go back through my calendar, and I was making sure that this was a day that he was supposed to have our son. And it was, and I reached out to my attorney. I sent the picture to my attorney, and I'm like, what is going on? There was no response. So the next day, I get back on the internet because I want to see if there's at least a timeline of a return, because my plans have now changed, but it's always been that way. Well, all of a sudden, the Twitter page went from 10,000 plus tweets to 10, 20? What happened? Did he find out that I saw that he was in New Jersey and didn't get our son for visitation? No. I then see a headline that says, Pastor Zachary Timms is no longer with us. Oh. For the rest of that year, I minded my business. Although I was still fighting in court and talking about this nanny and being told I was a liar, I kept my mouth shut. Well, now we're in January of 2012, and I am dating my football player, and I am happy. A picture comes out of him taking a nap with my son. Fully clothed, very innocent picture. The narrative that is given is that my boyfriend was being inappropriate with him. They took that narrative and they ran with it for weeks. They didn't care that it could destroy this person's character, his career, his reputation, nothing. It wasn't about the nanny who was actually being inappropriate. It was about a distraction. Why? Well, in February, that is when I was made aware that he was leaving Orlando. And then in March, here comes baby number 3. Baby number 3 is over a year old. Baby number 3 is a little girl. Baby number 3 was born the same year as baby number 2. We are now in April of 2012, and Superman is having back surgery in California, and I'm ecstatic that he is no longer here because I'm thinking he's going to leave me alone. He does not. I am hit with another lawsuit. In this lawsuit, I am almost immediately demanded to send my child to California for 6 weeks. I get 1 week of visitation. Yes, I was forced to send my child to California for 6 weeks to be with a person that he has not seen in 6 months, even when he was in Orlando. That visitation exchange was probably one of the worst situations I've ever had to endure. I watched my child hyperventilate. I watched my child scream. I watched my child reach for me to take him, and I had to let him go. I was given a visit halfway through, and I saw the same exact thing. And I was also there with one of my dancer friends that I dance with in Miami, who I also dance with sometimes when I take a heels class. They were there to console me because I could not, in my mind, save my child. After that visitation, I was hit in court with more motions, more visitation requests for days that he was not even in town. And there was one time where we actually did communicate and came up with a visitation schedule, and flights had already been made, but his attorneys wanted to go to court claiming that I was denying visitation. I went to court that day and I showed the judge that we already had the flight information. His attorneys sat there and were acting so oblivious, as if they had no idea. In 2013, I'm hit with more court filings and requests to produce as usual. But around April, I'm hearing rumors of another baby. Well, come June, that baby is born, a little boy. And I say on Twitter, congratulations, happy birthday. This baby was born in California, my little house on the prairie, Sister Seat, and he has now been traded to Houston. Hey y'all, it's Royce, and I am here to tell you a story about how my life changed beginning July 31st, 2004, up until even now, all because I had a baby by Superman, part 6. We are now in the fall of 2013. I am getting my son prepared for kindergarten. I have actually gotten him tested, and he has been diagnosed with ADHD. For those of us with children who have ADHD and have taken medication for it, you know ADHD medication is not something that you can start and just stop cold turkey. So there were visitations that were happening and they were refusing to give him his medication. I was also against him traveling so much because he's literally in kindergarten, the first grade of grade school. So outside of my son having to travel on Friday nights to Sunday evenings just to get up for school the next day and go, I am now concerned because they are refusing to give him his medication. They lied and said that they had a doctor from Sarasota come and examine him. And when I spoke to that doctor in Sarasota, that doctor said that he absolutely did not examine my son. He only told them what the medications that he was taking were for. He also let them know that it was dangerous to stop the medication cold turkey. They did it anyway. And now we are moving into the summer of 2014. Our son has completed kindergarten and he is now going to visit his father for a few weeks in the summer. I find out that almost 3 days after our son arrived, he left. He had actually been gone for several weeks and I had no idea because nobody was communicating with me. When my son is finally returned home, I am actually at practice with my company, and my parents call and say that I need to get to their home immediately. I ask why, they won't tell me, they just express that it was extremely important. Of course, I leave, I get there, they tell me that my son has bruises all over his body. I go to hug him and him me, and he goes, ouchie. I then look, I raise his shirt, he has a bruise on his stomach, he now has a bruise on his leg, on his inner thigh. And when I ask him what happened, he tells me his daddy did it. This is just a couple of days before he is to start first grade. So of course I am texting, trying to figure out what happened and why, and I am being ignored. I am then told by my attorney that I need to take my child down to the Department of Children and Families. I do that and they do a forensic interview. They talk to me and they start asking me to contact Superman. I am doing so and I am trying to tell him what is going on and he is ignoring me until he finally responds and says that he doesn't have to tell me anything about why he disciplined or spanked our child. Because of that response, a case was opened. The case was almost immediately shut quietly. Because of my concern and because I said something publicly, the case was reopened. The case was then sent to Georgia because it happened in Georgia. It was sent to 3 different counties in Georgia until it got to the county that his uncle was the DA of, and the case was dropped. But I'm not saying that he had anything to do with it. As you can probably guess, at this point, visitation ceased. Communication did as well for the most part, except for the fact that they sent a picture around of me taking my son to Hooters for his birthday and made it seem as if I was a sick mother. In 2015, we barely communicated at all. There were no visitation requests. There was just a bunch of motions filed here and there. So, of course, more money. As we get to the end of 2015, the communication doors are reopened. And Superman and I are communicating. It seems as if we are working on co-parenting. He asked if we can come to Houston in January of 2016, and I said yes. And when we get there, we're going to eat oysters, and as we're coming back, Superman is walking with a young lady that looks to be, I believe, Mexican with long hair, and she's holding the hand of this little boy with floppy hair. And he's trying to get out of her arms. He's just wild and crazy. As he's introducing her to me, he then introduces the little boy and says, "This is my son." What? He's 2. So now we have baby number 5, who was born the same year as baby number 4 in 2013. So this is the real reason why you haven't been bothering me. And I knew that to be a fact because she was actually going through court with him. And now we're trying to change a narrative. Well, I did befriend her and we became very close, and she actually came down and celebrated my son's birthday with him. And I took him, my son, and also their sister to Fun Spot that year. We were also making trips to Atlanta because at this point he had been traded again and he was now with Atlanta. Also, let it be noted that Sister C and he had broken up. Unfortunately, this meant that I now had to deal with a crazy ass pastor and his wife that were constantly telling us how bitter we were and that we were gold diggers and that it wasn't about the kids and that we were worthless women who wanted him. We are now in 2018 and our son is playing sports, but he's also a junior striker, which is a hip hop dancer. His father did come to the show that year. It was in June. And after the show, he, along with some of his people and my people, we went to dinner. After dinner, a few friends of mine and I were supposed to go to the Pulse nightclub. We did not go to the Pulse nightclub because all of us were outside having a conversation with a homeless man. That is the night that the Pulse nightclub shooting happened. This is also the day that he told me that he was dating the basketball player. When he told me her age, and I was taken aback, but to each his own, because who am I? Pot me kettle, right? A few months later, right around our son's birthday, a recording was released. And the recording was a man who was alleging to have had deeds with Superman and the pastor arguing on the phone. This is the same conversation where this person called Superman a 6'11" bottom. Well, now moving on to 2019, I realized that I like this girlfriend. She seems cool. She seems to keep him level-headed. He seems to be leaving me alone, and I'm all for it. Anytime we are having an argument or we seem like we can't communicate, it seems as if she's stepping in and she's really helping things out. So we good. Our son graduates from elementary school that year. He graduates with honors. She comes. There's a big family picture, and we keep it pushing. So I thought she was cool. I liked her. We had a cordial relationship. Well, next thing you know, the pandemic hits. and he is losing his mind. He is swearing that the world is going to end, and he has all of us in a group thread, and he's trying to get all of us to come to Georgia for quarantine. I said no. So did mama number 2. So did mama number 3. But mama number 4 and mama number 5 said yes. I then thought about it. I spoke to my boyfriend. He was still against it, so I stuck with no. Just a few days after that is when I'm on the internet and I see a bunch of prayer hands under mama number 5's picture. And I'm trying to figure out what's going on. I get a call from mama number 4, Sister C, and she tells me that mama number 5 has passed away. Of course, I pick up the phone and I start calling, and she's not answering, but I could not believe it. My dog is gone. She was the one that I was closest to. She was the one that I communicated the most with. I was heartbroken. After that, I am getting hounded even more so with phone calls about coming to Georgia for quarantine. At this point, because my heartstrings have been pulled, and because I have been in and out of court for years, I am waving my surrender flag. So I went to Georgia for quarantine, and it was the worst mistake I ever made in my entire life.
So as far as her bringing this up, do y'all get it now? She's interviewed, so that's why it's being brought up. The question should have been, why did the other person bring it up? But I get why the other person might have brought it up too, because nobody ever got the real answer to that question. They want to hear it from the horse's mouth, as they say. But anyway, I get it. You know, all this stuff is going on. He's making her look a certain way and feel a certain way. A cease and desist was given to her and all that type of stuff. She like, I just want to get my story out there because y'all ain't about to make me look bad. Y'all ain't about to make me look some type of way. Like I just got all this money from this man and did all this stuff. We had some type of agreement. Yada, yada, yada. She wasn't allowed to talk for a while. So now she allowed to talk. Her child is grown. Her child know everything that's going on. So she got the right to talk about what she wants to. Everybody talk about what they want to. It's just we're not famous like she is. So our stuff don't get out there like hers do. But anyway, well, y'all probably say she not famous, but I feel like she famous too. Because I know y'all gonna come for that. But anyway, y'all comment down below, like the video, subscribe to the channel, subscribe to Banger Play Game, subscribe to Trish World, subscribe to Brown Sugar. Make sure you check me out on social media. Check out my shop. Check out my IGT page. Shop with your girl. Thank you guys for watching. And as always, be blessed.